We're sharing 5 key secrets to help you feel more comfortable about traveling full-time.
If you're somebody who's been planning and researching and number crunching for years and still aren't sure if this is something you're going to be able to pull off, we think our 5 secrets are going to help you a lot.
And we did this a very unconventional way. We did it very quickly. We started off thinking we'll be expats, we'll live somewhere in Europe. This will be great. Judy's going to do some dual citizenship. But things didn't work out that way. And within a month and a half of our travel start, we actually just said, forget it. We're selling everything. We're going to travel full time. So don't be afraid to do things a little bit differently. And we have some ideas over 2 years of travel that'll save you the hassles that we went through.
I'm Judy.
And I'm Kevin. Welcome back to Finding Gina Marie, where we share our lives as full-time travelers and the connections we make along the way. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into our list of secrets.
Our first secret is that we didn't have to have all of the answers before we traveled full time, and neither will you. Everybody travels differently, and that's the beauty of full-time travel. There's no one way. And for us, we only gave ourselves a month and a half to sell everything we own and figure out exactly what life as full-time travelers was going to look like. And frankly, we were so busy that we didn't even have time to think of all of the questions that might be in front of us.
We didn't have time to worry either because we were so worried about getting on our plane to leave, but there was no way we had any of the preparation that we thought that maybe you already have. You probably have thought through a lot more things than we have, but our goal was to just get on the road. And we started off with just a trip we already had planned and scaled that down a little bit and then said, this is what we're going to do.
We didn't keep a home base. And if that's something that you're intending as well, and regardless, if you're downsizing at all, that's an entire video of its own. And we have learned so much about that process. If that's something that you want to hear about, let us know in the comments.
In our previous 2 episodes, one of the most asked questions was, what did you do about health insurance? Well, when we started off, I was still working for Apple, so I didn't have to worry about health insurance. And we weren't sure when I was going to quit. So we kind of said, well, we'll just deal with that later, and then maybe there'll be some leftover health insurance and we'll research it on the road. So it's not something that we panicked about or had to deal with right away.
Exactly. We were in Athens, Greece, and we knew we had a month to make a decision. And so we did a bunch of research and got it sorted out while we were already living on the road. One of the questions that we get asked a lot is, what are you doing for your phone plan? Well, we didn't even think about that when we first started off. We had an international T-Mobile plan, and we just added data each month that allowed us to travel seamlessly. Obviously, there are people who use eSIMs and then get a local number in the foreign countries they travel to. For us, it wasn't something that we really even needed to make a decision about.
And that's the thing. We didn't have to decide ahead of time. This worked, and you get to do the same thing. You get to decide, I want to do what I'm doing now, and let's see how it works. And then, at any one point, you can change your mind. Our next secret is, we don't try to pack for every situation. I like to be the Boy Scout and make sure that everything's covered and we have every contingency, but it's not practical when you're traveling full time, and we've learned that.
We think that traveling light is one of the best pieces of advice that we can give to you. And it could be really scary, especially if you've sold everything and literally all you own is what's on your back or what you're carrying. But you'll be traveling all over the world and having a lot of cool experiences, and you don't want what you're carrying to kind of weigh you down, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, think of the cities and passageways and stairways and everything that's in Europe, without talking about other countries that you may have to take alternate means of travel. Having a big suitcase will really break your back. Seriously, it is hard to get up and down some of these stairs, even with our small carry-on luggage. So pack light as you can, because you won't regret it. Just because you don't have 15 outfits, that won't be your real concern in life.
And especially if you're on any sort of budget, you're going to be spending a lot more money over time because you have a bigger suitcase.
And like the first secret, there's always options. Every country has stores. If you need something, if there's absolutely something you forgot or you feel like you need in another country, you can buy it. We've done it over time. We just gotten rid of something that didn't work and bought something else.
And pro tip, we actually have 2 videos on what we pack, and they have changed drastically over the years. But we'll also tell you to be very careful about buying from people's gear lists. In the beginning, we bought all kinds of things that we just didn't have room for, and steadily over time, we've been getting rid of some of those things.
Yeah, it's tempting. All that stuff looks really good, but start small, you'll be happier.
Secret number 3, travel planning is time consuming, and it's not vacation planning. It's very different.
And no matter how you slice it, trying to pick the right location in the right city, in the right country is time consuming. Just planning one city has taken up hours and days of our time. And that's not all, because we have to plan the next city and the next city. So all these things take time. If you are traveling quickly, you are going to run out of time and money, because every time you make a mistake in travel planning, you're like, oh, I got to reschedule that. Well, sometimes that costs money too. So the slower you travel, the easier it is on your budget, the easier it is on your brain. You actually get to breathe sometimes, because you don't want to have to be in one spot and then a week later schedule stuff for another spot. You'll lose all that time you're in the place you're in.
In fact, when we were first starting to travel, my original plan before we took off was to spend a month in Italy and see 8 cities while we were there. And I ran it by a cousin of mine who'd been to Italy before, and she said, whoa, 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 I think that you're going to be really unhappy with that plan. Well, we'd never traveled anywhere for longer than 2 weeks. I just kind of thought, oh, a month, we have time to do this. Well, we had to remind ourselves that we're not on vacation and that we don't have to see everything at once, and we'll be back as often as we want. We're full-time travelers. We can come and go as we please.
And as Judy said, this isn't vacation mode. You don't need to see everything possible before you go back home, because this is home. Wherever you stay, you're home. So our advice is pick 2 spots, 2 top of your list spots that you've always wanted to visit. We picked Italy and then Athens, Greece. And we said we're going to slow down and spend a whole month in Greece.
And that was really helpful for us, because we had a lot that we needed to figure out while we were in Greece. We kind of did travel planning then for the next 6 months. We redid what we were packing. And in the beginning, we really had no routine. So we felt like fish out of water, and that's okay. Everything that you're doing is going to take longer than you think it might. And having those 2 months under our belts really gave us some much needed time to just digest the exciting things that we were experiencing.
Our next secret, be flexible and breathe. Not everything's going to be perfect, and that's okay. Leaving the place that you've lived in every day for years for a new place that you know nothing about can be very stressful. But try to look at these new experiences as part of the adventure.
I remember the very first night that we spent in Italy as full-time travelers, and the tightening that I experienced in my stomach when I realized I would never sleep in my own bed again. I would never have my own pillow. Part of it is that your worst fears come through in the middle of the night, and it's natural to have those kinds of feelings. For me, this was my first experience to be retired. I had a lot of adjustments that I was having to go through at the time, and I just needed to give myself a little bit of grace, remind myself that this was a great adventure that I had chose for myself and that I wanted to experience, and just trust that as everything wasn't so new, I would get a little bit more comfortable with everything. And that really is totally what happened. That pit in my stomach went away, and now I sleep like a baby every place we go.
Well, we have some problems once in a while, but the idea is we breathe through them. We think this is temporary. We're not going to be here forever. This is our home for now, but it's going to change. So whatever problems we have right now, whatever things are going on, it's okay. Take a breath. The bed will be better in the next place. Maybe the showers will be better in the next place. It just doesn't matter that much. You're on an adventure. This is part of the fun of full-time travel.
And this is especially true if you are choosing to travel to a part of the world that you've never been to before. For us, we were pretty experienced in spending time in Europe. But when we went to Egypt, that was a huge culture shock for us. We were unfamiliar with the food, and it took us a while to get acclimated to the neighborhood before we started feeling comfortable. But eventually we did.
One of the things we do to make sure we have some comfort wherever we are is we have a morning routine. And we just decide we're going to find one place that's really comfortable for us to sit and have coffee, talk about our day, kind of give ourselves that hour or so of just exhaling and breathing. And that really makes our lives a lot easier. If you have routines, if you have things that make your life easier, reading the paper, whatever it is, do that kind of stuff. It'll make it feel more like home wherever you are.
Yeah, we have friends that every Sunday their plan is to go to a coffee shop. It's usually the same coffee shop, and read the newspaper or do the Sunday crossword. That's perfectly fine. If you have a routine like that, then just plan that you're not going to have your travel days on Sundays and build that in. Maybe figure out what place you're going to be going to earlier in the week so that when Sunday rolls around, you can have that routine work for you without a lot of extra friction.
Yeah, this is your plan. This is your job to give yourself those places and those spaces to be comfortable so you can breathe and relax.
If you have routines that bring you joy, we would love to know about them. We may incorporate them into our own lives.
Let us know in the comments.
Our fifth and final secret is to know that you call the shots. You have complete power over your life and all of your decisions, and you get to make changes anytime you want. One example of that is our decision about staying outside the city center in Vienna. We chose that location because we wanted to save a little bit of money. And once we got there and spent a little bit of time, we just kind of felt like it was outside of the main hustle and bustle, and we really didn't like that. Now, there was nothing wrong with our accommodations, so we stayed there. But going forward, we made a conscious decision that we were going to prioritize location over budget. Sometimes that meant that we didn't end up going to a place because it was too expensive. We ended up not going to Spain because we couldn't get affordable accommodations last year where we wanted them.
It happened again for us in Saigon. We booked a place in Ho Chi Minh City that was really inexpensive. We thought it was a good deal. We thought this would make a great low-cost place to stay. Turns out we really didn't enjoy it. After 3 weeks there were so many issues that I was getting grumpy and I was not having a good time. Judy said, we have options. Our anniversary's coming up, Christmas is coming up. What could we do? She said, let me book a hotel in Hanoi and we can stay there for the last week. We'll just consider whatever we spent on Saigon sunken costs and we're done with it.
Now, there wasn't necessarily so many issues with the accommodations. We just didn't like where we were in the neighborhood. We didn't really.
The building was kind of tough. That elevator was a struggle every day. We had to get up and down and crowd in a 95-degree heat. Last year, we ended up doing some fast travel, and I really didn't like it. We didn't get to spend the time in the places that I normally enjoy. We didn't get to explore them, and it always was we have a travel day coming up. Now I have to plan for that. Now I have to pack and unpack again. And every time you do that, it just adds a little bit more friction to your life. And friction is not something you want when you're doing travel full time.
So after Kevin expressed that he wasn't happy traveling that way, we slowed things down. And for the most part, we've been very intentional about spending a month in each place. Now, there are times that doesn't always work out. And we make the best of it. So at least we know going into it what we can expect.
I think it helps that we know we're not going to do this a lot. We're taking select times of our year, select times of our travel agenda, saying we're going to do this for this very short period of time, and then we're back to our slow travel.
This last part of the year, we decided that we wanted to change up our plans a little bit. And so we ended up doing that. We originally were going to be in Sardinia in November, decided maybe the warmer weather there would make more sense. So
I think the comment was, we don't want to freeze in Italy.
So fortunately, because we keep our accommodations refundable, we had the luxury of changing those plans. And so now we'll be in South America during that time, which I think is going to suit us a whole lot more. And we'll see Sardinia in the spring.
And this is a whole new continent, which is the really cool part. You start getting out there and exploring places you've never even thought of going after you've done this slow travel process.
But at the same time, you're entitled to be someone who only wants to be in Canada, or maybe you only want to travel to Southeast Asia, or maybe you are somebody who really is comfortable with Europe. You get to do you. So nobody's saying you have to travel through the entire world. We don't personally have a goal of seeing every country on the planet.
Yeah, there's no count that we're keeping as far as, oh, we got to get to 100 or something like that. It's not in our plans.
It's very likely that you don't know all your travel preferences out of the gate when you first start full-time travel. And that's probably about right because you've never done this before. We think that over time you'll learn about what your likes and dislikes are. And again, you get to call the shots. The more you know, the better your decision process will be for you.
And even if you sold everything you own, gave up your home base, you're not stuck. You get to decide that, hey, I'm going to start over again. I'm going to go find a home base. I'm going to redo things. And maybe you'll do things differently because of the experiences you've had or the way that you had to declutter your life like we have. We have a whole new perspective on what we would do differently the next time we set up a home base.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Consider subscribing if you aren't already. And the best compliment that you can give to us is to share our videos with your friends and family.
And check out findinggmarie.com. We have articles, more information about us, and our community forum.
Until next time.
Until next time.